This is our Week 5 fantasy redraft. Wilkins, you're on the clock.
I'm starting with Saquon Barkley. I think that we've just seen what a superstar running back can look like behind that offensive line, and when the Eagles aren't trying to zero RB their real-life roster, I think his production is actually going to tick up as the season goes on because the Eagles are going to realize running the ball is their most efficient way to do things right now.
Yeah, 2 for me is Justin Jefferson. I mean, the concern was whether or not they had good enough quarterback play. And even last week, Jordan Addison found the end zone twice, still get 17.5 fantasy points from Jettas. So I think it's an easy pick.
Those are both good picks. I'm not going to argue with those. But you guys did leave me with last year's wide receiver 1 overall, CeeDee Lamb. Talked about it before. Cowboys are going to have to throw the ball a ton. I think he's going to put up some monster stats the rest of the way.
And I'm taking a guy who wouldn't have expected to take in the first round 4 weeks ago, Alvin Kamara, because he's just been an absolute volume monster in this reimagined Clint Kubiak offense. He leads the NFL in touches, averaging 20 carries per game and still getting over 4 receptions per game, over 53% of his team's rushing attempts in the red zone. Leads the NFL in touchdowns. I mean, he's just been a totally different beast. Look, this was the RB2 in fantasy just a few years ago. Feels like he's on pace to do that again in 2024. And then snake-style draft at 5. I'm going with Malik Neighbors, who's been the epitome of a volume monster. He leads the NFL in targets and in receptions by such a considerable margin. It's not even funny. And it's not like he's just getting dunked off, even though he has Daniel Jones as his quarterback. He is also tied for the NFL lead in receptions over 20 yards. He's getting the lion's share of the red zone targets. I didn't think that we could see a rookie get this involved in an offense that struggles to throw the ball as much as New York's does, but Neighbors has just been far and beyond so incredible. Who we got now?
It's back to Boone, right?
It's back to Boone.
All right. This might be the first name that people are a little bit surprised to see in the first round of a fantasy draft. Nico Collins on the Texans. And I think talent-wise, we knew that he could be that kind of player. I think the concern before the season was that, okay, there's so much target competition in Houston. There's no way he's going to put up the kind of stats that you'd see him in the first round. But he has. He leads the league in receiving right now. So Nico Collins deserves to be viewed as a top 5 receiver in the league.
Oh, I would have taken him before both of Jonah's picks, so I'm being completely honest. But I'm going to go with a guy who's got some injury concern right now. That's Jonathan Taylor. Of course, if the injury is a problem, that could end up being something that keeps you from taking him here. But volume is fantastic. This is a team averaging over 5 yards a carry on the year. And with Steichen, I know that the volume will always be there for him. So as long as he's healthy, I would be taking him here.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Kyron Williams. I know he was a mid-second round pick in the preseason. Maybe that was a little bit of concern that he could repeat what he did last year, but you get both receivers go down. The Rams have not worked Blake Corum in at all after picking him on day 2. So Kyron really is the centerpiece of that offense. He's got 6 touchdowns already. And as the offensive line gets a little bit more healthy, I think his rush efficiency is going to go back up to where it was last year as well.
You got another pick?
Yeah, this is going to sound a little weird because I was just talking up Derrick Henry, but I'm going to go with Bree Hall instead. I will continue to believe. I think he's one of the most talented running backs in the league. And the big thing for me is that his consistent involvement in the passing game led by Aaron Rodgers. He's got 24 targets so far, already puts him on pace for over 100 on the season. That's probably not going to hold if they get Devontae Adams, but it's all still very promising for me.
I got 2 words for you, man. Braylon Allen. Just saying. T, you're up.
You were considering Derrick Henry, so was I, and Breece Hall, to be honest. But I'm going to go with Jamar Chase. Just with the way this defense has played, I think it should really help their offense, which has already looked fantastic. And Chase had the slow start with, I think, the contract situation, not getting on the field enough. In the last 2 weeks, he got 3 touchdowns, over 200 receiving yards. I think in for a very big year.
All right, you guys have messed up here. You let me have CeeDee Lamb, who was the number 1 receiver last year and is going to have a great end of the season now. You let me get Nico Collins, who's leading the league in receiving yards. And now you're giving me Derrick Henry, who's leading the league in rushing yards. He's on pace for over 2,000 rushing yards this year. The guy is just an animal out there. Can't wait to see what he's going to do the rest of the season. I can't wait to see what all 3 of the guys you let me get are going to do the rest of the season, so thanks.
Hey, we all have good cores, okay? The cores of all of our team are solid, I would say. And I will round out the first round with Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's just as reliable as they come. He's had 17 fantasy points in each of the last 3 weeks, and I think he has that really enviable combination of a high floor and a high ceiling. He has 29% of his team's red zone targets as well, which is a very healthy percentage given how many weapons they have in that Detroit offense. And apparently he can throw touchdowns too now, so that's part of his repertoire as well. I'm going with Amon-Ra, but Boone, as our resident fantasy guru, give us your overall take on that first round.
I think it's fairly chalky. I think the one guy that I would have a little bit of an issue with might be Jonathan Taylor, and it's for two reasons. One, you hit on like the injury situation is a little concerning. Could it be like Joe Mixon, where the team initially said, "Oh, it's not that bad," and then all of a sudden he misses a few games? I'm guessing that's what's going to happen with Taylor, so I think he's going to miss a little bit of time, at least a week, maybe a couple weeks. So that would bump his value down a little bit. And then also, he just doesn't put up huge receiving numbers in that offense, and part of that could be Anthony Richardson. Maybe we'll get some Joe Flacco games, and that would change things. But yeah, he's not a guy that has the big pass-catching upside. Normally, when you take a first-round running back in fantasy, you want them to be able to put up those big receiving stats as well.
Right. I think we all did a pretty good job. My team's the best.